Hey y'all, so instead of doing a tip today, I'm going to show y'all how I make these gelatin gummies. Now, I'm going to make these as gummies, but you could also just make it as plain jello. This is actually what people use to make jello. If you make jello, you can put it in a pan like this. But today I'm going to make gummies using a silicone mold. And these are the silicone molds that I have, so I'm going to use them. I got these from the secondhand store, and I bleached them thoroughly before I used them. Alright y'all, so this gelatin that I have is premium gelatin. I got this a while ago from Amazon, and it's like $25. So y'all don't have to get that. Y'all can actually go to Walmart and buy the Knox gelatin or any gelatin they have. Now I'm showing y'all the honey because you want to use juice with this, and I'm going to use pomegranate juice, but because that pomegranate juice is not sweet, I'm going to add the honey to it because trust me, once these solidify into gummies and they're not that sweet, they're not going to be that good, so you might not want to eat it. You don't have to add honey, just however you like your juice to be sweet. You can even make your own juice out of, frozen fruit and blend it and make your own juice to make this. So for this recipe, I got it from a channel on YouTube. I will put the name in here. So I'm using her recipe. In her recipe, she uses 3 tablespoons of Knox gelatin to 1 cup of juice. But I'm going to use 2 tablespoons because the last time I made these, I used 3 tablespoons and the gummies were just way too thick for my liking. Like, it was almost like chewing little rubber bites. So I only used 2 tablespoons of gelatin. And what you want to do, I intended to put the juice in the pot first. That will save time transferring it. So you want to put your 1 cup of juice in a pot first. And what I'm doing right here is called blooming. You have to allow the gelatin to bloom first before cooking it. So I'm sprinkling it on top like that because that's how you get it to bloom. You don't mix it in. You don't just pour it all at once. You sprinkle it evenly over your liquid. Again, do it in a pot so you won't have to transfer. And I intended to do that, but I was distracted. So I'm putting 2 tablespoons to 1 cup of 1 cup of juice. So that actually came out perfect with how much space I had with my 3 molds that I was using, and they're silicone molds. So y'all, we're gonna let this bloom for 5 minutes, and you just let it sit, and it'll end up soaking up. The powder will end up soaking into the juice. And you could tap it down, but don't mix it. It's literally supposed to soak it up by itself. But because I did it in the measuring cup instead of the pot, I had to kind of, push it down a little bit, but don't push it down all the way. And I will be back in 5 minutes and let y'all see how this looks after it blooms. Okay, y'all, so this is how it looks after it blooms. I mixed it just a little bit. So as y'all can see, it soaked up most of that powder by itself without me messing with it. And I pushed it down just a little bit with the spoon. So we're going to go ahead and transfer this into the pot. Okay, y'all, so here in the pot, what you want to do is put your fire on medium. You do not want this high because you'll burn it and you'll ruin it and it will not work. So you're going to transfer your liquid and bloom gelatin into the pot. Put it on medium heat to where it starts to get warm. And you want all that gelatin, y'all see those clumps down there, you want all of that to dissolve, because if you don't, those clumps will be in your gelatin when you put it in the mold. So make sure that's dissolved, and do not let it come to a boil, and do not overheat it because you'll ruin it and it won't set right. So this is where I'm going to add in my honey. The last time I made these, I didn't add honey, but like I said, they didn't come out that sweet, and they were kind of hard to eat because they hardly had any taste. So I went ahead and added honey. You could add sugar. You could also add, I wouldn't suggest sugar if you want to keep it healthy, but you could also add, like vitamin drops to this. You could add apple cider vinegar. Yeah, I don't know if it is set right with vinegar, because of the acidity in vinegar, but you could add vitamin drops in this. You can add vitamin C to this. Anything you can add, you want to make it healthier. You can add like, some people add elderberry syrup. That's what I was trying to say. So yeah, you can even add elderberry syrup to this. Anything else to make it healthy. Even apple cider vinegar. But again, I don't know if the vinegar will allow it to set right because of the acidity in the vinegar. But hey, you could try it. All right, and right here is where I added my honey. And so make sure that's dissolved. And I actually took it off the heat so it wouldn't burn or start boiling. You do not want this to boil. So I added in my honey and I melted it down as much as possible. And then I'm gonna take the rest of the chunks of the honey out because this stuff, it solidifies quickly. So you want to transfer it to either your bowl if you're going to make jello, or to your silicone molds if you're going to make gelatin bites. And y'all, some of the health benefits for gelatin is skin health. It helps with your skin. It helps with joint pain. It helps with gut health, and it helps even with hair growth. And actually, I've used this on my hair too as a protein treatment. And y'all seen those videos that I made. And if you didn't, check out my YouTube channel. But yeah, I actually use this in my hair, of course, without the juice. And it's good for a protein treatment, and it also promotes hair growth. But this time I'm using it internally. So I'm going to transfer it back to my measuring cup so I could pour it into these silicone molds. Now, if you don't want to do it from the cup, some people take like food grade squeegees, and they'll squeegee it into the molds instead of pouring it like I'm pouring it. And y'all, word of caution, because these are silicone molds, you want to set this on a flat tray before pouring the liquid in. That way you don't have to be careful when you're taking it to the refrigerator, because I made a mess. I had to transfer each one to the refrigerator one by one, and I spilled some of the gelatin on the floor. So before you put your gelatin in the molds, go ahead and put it on a flat sheet, and make sure you have room in your refrigerator, because it needs to sit on a flat surface. Not the freezer, the refrigerator. So yeah, I'm just finished pouring it, and I had just enough for these molds, which was perfect. So the 1 cup of juice worked great for these molds, the mold size that I had. All right, so this is what it's looking like. They're piping hot, and I'm gonna go ahead and transfer them to the refrigerator to set. They take about two to 3 hours to set, but I left mine in for a while. Now, these are some I made a while ago for my parents. These were made with apple juice, but they're old, so they need to go in the trash, so I threw those ones away. All right, y'all, this is about 4 or 5 hours later. This is how they set. They set pretty good, y'all, but for some reason I had a hard time getting these out of the mold. They were breaking up a lot. I think it's because I only used 2 tablespoons of gelatin versus 3 like the last time. And then too, the honey could have made them not set that good, because last time I didn't use honey, so y'all could see they were kind of breaking apart, but they're still, you know, molded pretty well. So you could eat like 4 or 5 of these a day. It's not even like, all 3 of these equal 2 tablespoons. And the suggested serving size on the gelatin canister is 1 tablespoon a day. So you're not getting that much, but this is a good way to incorporate gelatin in your diet if you don't want to take the powder every day. And y'all could also take 2 or 3 of these and add it to your hot coffee or your hot tea, and it'll do the same thing, because with the powder, outside of making these little gelatin gummies, you could add it to your hot teas. So yeah, y'all could add it to your tea or your coffee if you don't want to eat it. Because I to be honest, y'all, I do not like Jello, but I eat these before the health benefits, plus they're convenient versus using the powder and waiting for it to dissolve in your tea. All right, y'all, so this is the end result. I just threw them all in a plastic bag, and they are really, really good. The honey really amped it up, and it's not a whole bunch of sugar or processed sugar. It's natural sugar. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know if y'all would try this, and thank y'all so much for watching. Take care, y'all. All right, God bless. Bye.